the south, Field Marshal Mackensen, with a mixed force of Germans, Bulgarians and Turks, had pushed up the Danube towards its mouth and captured the Black Sea port of Constanza. Three-quarters of the country had been overrun. And the following year, the Romanians sued for peace. The Romanian catastrophe completed the tale of unrelieved failure for the Allies in the Balkans. They now resorted to political weapons. The majority of Greeks were neither pro-Ally or pro-German. They just wanted to be left alone. But it didn't suit the Allies for Greece to remain neutral. By political and military pressure, including an Allied landing at Athens, King Constantine was forced to abdicate. Venizelos returned as premier, and Greece was induced to declare war on the Central Powers.
The conversion of the Greek army from a source of danger to a powerful ally completely changed the aspect of things in the Balkans and made a renewed offensive possible.
From Corfu came other reinforcements, 100,000 Serbians who had escaped from their country in 1915. They were dedicated to avenge that terrible defeat. In the words of Lloyd George, they were ravening to be up and at the foe. Now, mighty events elsewhere impinged on the Macedonian front. German defeats in the west had undermined Bulgaria's will to resist. Her peasant soldiers were weary of the war. They'd lived for too long on red garlic soup and maize bread. They'd suffered too long in the mountains without boots, without coats. There was no longer a German army to stiffen their morale. They began to slip away from the front to their neglected farms. On the 15th of September 1918, the Allied bombardment roared out, and the mountains echoed with its thunder. Spread swiftly from west to east as French, Serbians, Italians, Greeks, and British attacked the walls of rock that faced them. The main attack was made by the French and Serbians over mountains in places 7,000 feet high. Within a week, the Serbian army, inspired by the sight of their homeland, had stormed through the mountains to the valleys beyond. Now they were retracing the path of their bitter retreat 3 long years before. Velez, Skopje, Uskub, Niš, the towns of Serbia returned one after another into their hands. The Bulgarian commander-in-chief frantically called on the Germans for reinforcements. Hindenburg replied,
"As your excellency is aware, Germany is now engaged in a most terrific struggle on the Western Front. All our forces will be required for that purpose."
Only a small nucleus of German troops remained in Bulgaria, not enough to rally the demoralized Bulgarians.
It was impossible to stop their career, even though the forces of the pursuing enemy were weak. The moment the enemy approached, the Bulgarians fired a few rounds and then left their lines.
All along the line now, the Bulgarians were falling back, leaving behind the debris of a broken army.
The situation was fast becoming unbelievable. We were on the point of rolling up the whole line. Central Europe itself was before our eyes.
On September the 29th, a fortnight after the first assault, Bulgaria capitulated. The first of Germany's allies had cracked. "The Iron Thrones are falling," wrote one Englishman. The way lay open to Constantinople in the east, to the Habsburg Empire in the north. In Austria-Hungary, social discontent had reached a revolutionary pitch, as it had done in Russia. Mutinies had broken out among the Slovenes, the Czechs, the Hungarians, the Bosnians, and the Slovakians. Bad news from the Western Front fanned the discontent. The Austrians asked themselves,
if Germany can no longer put up a defense, why don't they put an end to the fighting?
Austrian dependence on Germany was coming full circle. Endurance was stretched to breaking point. One soldier wrote to his mother,
"The life is unworthy of any human being. I ask myself how the motley collection of older men and young boys in their front positions endure this life. Insufficient food, tattered uniforms, no possibility of keeping oneself clean. I feel convinced that we can't go on like this."
On the 16th of October, the troops learned that the Emperor had proclaimed a federal constitution giving full autonomy to the nations of the Empire. It was too late. One after another, the peoples of the Empire cast off the Habsburg yoke. First the Czechoslovaks, then the Yugoslavs and the Hungarians proclaimed themselves as independent states. The tottering empire was splitting asunder. After 4 years, the shot at Sarajevo had at last achieved its true purpose. On the 24th of October, the anniversary of Caporetto, the Allies attacked in Italy. For 2 days, the Austrians hung on tenaciously in the mountains and along the line of the Piave. But on the 27th, the Allies broke through the river front. Three days later, cavalry and armored cars reached Vittorio Veneto, the Austrian headquarters. The retreat had turned into a rout. Now, at last, Austrian resistance was at an end. Her dream of empire was in ruins. The imperial eagle was at the point of death.